Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Um, we know why we are online today rather than in the temple. The weather took charge of matters, and now we're forced to kind of do the next best thing is to meet online. That means we're not having any prasadam, but at least we hear the Lord's name, and that would be all wonderful for us. Gopanim is coming up, and so the management has made the decision that going forward, until Gopanim comes, there will be a series of lectures on the life and the teachings of Lord Caitanya. So Lord Chaitanya's life and teachings are what we're starting with today. So today is part one of life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So before we start, of course, I have to start with the proper mantras. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Vallabha Girivadadhari Gopi Vallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Radha Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Astottara Satyashima's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Astottara Satyashima's Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय इस्कॉन फाउंडर चार्ज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय पुरुषोत्तम जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देव की जय भक्ति देव की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय सामवेद भक्त बिंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to the Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Samadhi Bhakti Deva Swami Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddharthani Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Deva Namini Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna. So today's class is from the book that written, a small book, one of the small books written by Srila Prabhupada. The title is Lord Chaitanya, His Life and Teachings. And as I said earlier, this is going to be or the next series of Sunday lectures would be on Lord Chaitanya's life and teachings, different parts, to begin with part one today. And so we'll start with the childhood of the Lord when he appeared, and then childhood pastimes up to when he was just turning teenager to mid-teens. That's what we'll cover today. So, the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are very, very wonderful. First of all, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam yo janati tatvata, or even yo veti tatvata. He says his birth and his activities are all transcendental. So the first caution that we would like to have devotees be aware of is that even if we're hearing pastimes of the Lord that seem to be something that we can relate to in our own life, we are living a material life and he lives a transcendental life. So even if there are some things that we can relate to, we should never think that they are at the material level the way ours is at the material level. When the Lord appears in human form, 2 hands, 2 legs, that does not make him human like we are. And that should be very, very, very clear to the minds of the devotees. Okay, so to begin with, the Lord was born in February 1486, West Bengal, Mayapur. Now, today is the appearance of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya also is connected to Gaura Lila. Gaura Lila means the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Actually, Advaita Acharya, before the Lord came, he was the one that made the decision to pray sincerely and repeatedly to Lord Krishna to appear to deal with the situations of mode passion and mode ignorance activities on the planet in this Kali Yuga. So Advaita Acharya, he incessantly prayed to the Lord to come. So he was already on the earth. He was already in India. And there were other associates of the Lord that were already here. Because actually what happens is when the Lord is to descend, there are associates that come before him, there are associates that come with him, and then associates that come after he arrives. So before, with, and after, they're all devotees from the spiritual world who come to take part in the Lord's Leela to make it quite interesting, according to the way he wants things done. So, he was born in February 1486, which means 15th century. He's called actually, when they mention his 16th century, they usually mention because he lived 48 years. And of course, 1486. So after 14 years, it was already 1500. 1500 begins the 16th century. And he was 14 at that time. He lived to be 48 years. So most of his time was in the 1500s. So He disappeared in 1534. So Advaita Acharya prayed for the Lord to come, and he used Tulsi leaf and Ganges water in his prayer to request the Lord to appear. The Lord finally appeared, but he had a conversation with Srimati Radharani, this is Krishna, saying that he would actually appear in the material world. So he told Srimati Radharani that. And in that conversation, Srimati Radharani learned from Krishna that he was going to take the mood of Srimati Radharani. Mm. That's the internal reason for Krishna's appearance. Srimati Radharani cautioned Krishna that if you want to find out how much love I have for you, you're going to have to be very careful because it can be quite intense and you can even hurt yourself. So in that conversation, it was decided that the color of Srimati Radharani would be given to Krishna. Mm-hmm. So this was part of the conversation. Actually, there's more to it, but I don't get into it much because Srila Prabhupada did not mention it. This is from other Shastra. Therefore, I don't get into it. But definitely, he came. He was born with the complexion of Srimati Radharani, golden color. Krishna is usually blue-black. Very, very, very effulgent, blue, dark blue, almost black complexion. But Lord Caitanya came in this Kali Yuga with the golden complexion. So he was born during the lunar eclipse, and there's also a strategy behind that. The tradition at the time was that if there's an eclipse, people chanted the holy name. Now, part of the Lord's mission was to get people to chant the holy name. So right at birth, he chose the day where there was a lunar eclipse so that people would start chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Mm-hmm. His father was called Jagannath Mishra, and his mother, Shrimati Sachi Devi. Mm-hmm. In parts of the Shastra, it also says that it's the same souls, Nanda and Yashoda, that also came as Jagannath Mishra and again, Sachi Devi. We won't get into too much outside of the life and teachings, but there's some extra information, as there always is. Mm-hmm. Anyway, as we said, he disappeared in 1534, so he lived 48 years. Now, for the family, there were sisters born first. So Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mataji, Srimati Sachi Devi, they had 8 daughters first, but they all died young. Mm. And then a son was born, Vishwarup. Then after that, Lord Caitanya was born. He was called Vishwambara. So they, of course, did not leave their bodies. They were there. So Lord Caitanya was actually the 10th child, the last child. 8 daughters, and then Vishwarupa, the 9th one, and then Lord Caitanya, the 10th, and the last child. When he was a baby, and you know what babies do sometimes, they want to get attention, they cry. So Lord Caitanya did the same. And when the ladies around tried to stop Lord Caitanya from, well, I call him Nimai for now because he was that young, Nimai, and also Vishwambara. They couldn't get him to stop. But as soon as they started chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and clapping their hands, the ladies, the Lord would not only stop crying, but he would have a big, nice, wonderful smile on his face. So then the ladies learned that every time that Lord Caitanya or Nimai cried, that they should chant the mantra to get him to stop crying. By the way, yes, he was Vishwambara, but the name Nimai was given to him by his mother, Sachi, because he was born underneath a Nimba tree. And by the way, just a side thing, and Stu and I went to Mayapur in 2023, And am I getting it right? Yeah, 2023. Yes. To have deities made for the temple. Shishinita Gorachanda. Mm. Our GBC was the one who named the deities Shishinita Gorachanda. And that visit, we were there for about 3 weeks. And we were taken to different places. And one of the places that was most memorable for me, I was actually quite under the weather. I was quite sick the whole time. But still, it was very nice to see that Nima tree, the name tree that Nima was born under. Mm. Yeah, I was just in ecstasy as soon as I saw the tree. I don't know what came over me, and hardly could walk, but still. What we did was the thought occurred to me to take some of the soil under the tree. And so I took that and it was brought here to the temple on that day that the lordships Sisintago and Chanda were installed. It was mixed with water and the woodies were given the opportunity to associate with the soil. And that is having that put the solution, the mixture put in their foreheads. Very auspicious. Mm. Anyway, so the Lord was born, and of course, there were so many pastimes of the Lord when he was a child. Mm. Um, First of all, we've talked about the conversation that Krishna had with Srimati Radharani, where Krishna told Srimati Radharani that he would be coming to the um, the earth in this Kali Yuga. So the internal reason for the Lord's coming, the internal reason was and it's broken down into three different, but we'll just summarize it, was to experience the love that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna. Krishna was quite surprised about how much love that Srimati Radharani had for him, and he wanted to experience that love. Therefore, he had to be in the mood of Srimati Radharani as a servant of Krishna in order to be able to experience that. Not only that, but the love, which is the highest level of love that in existence, literally. And that is the love, the level of love that Srimati Radharani shows to Krishna. When it comes to Prema, Krishna Prema, there are different categories, 7 different categories. And then there's an 8th one, which is and I won't get too much technical about it. It's the sum total of the 7. So when a devotee gets from the Baba platform, which we are being, slowly advised to, serve and be able to get the, into the habit of serving, and then later on develop love for the Lord, that dormant love for Krishna would begin to awaken in our minds and in our hearts. That's the Baba platform, the initial stirrings of love. Then Krishna Prema. The Krishna Prema has different levels. And His Holiness Gogovinda Maharaj in one lecture has explained the entire thing. And when you read some other books also, CC Prayo Bhakti Rasana, but also about the cowherd boys and their love for Krishna, it's also explained there. The highest level of prema, love, was in fact Radharani's property. So Lord Caitanya came at that level. It's called Madanakya Mahabhav. Madanakya Mahabhav. That is the love, the highest love. And it's a combination of all the other 7. And the Sanskrit names are there, but we won't get into that. I had to hold my tongue. I always was going to go through all of them, but it's not relevant for us. Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya came with the mood and the loving level of Krishna that Srimati Radharani had for Krishna. So in many of the situations that he was in his life, he was actually chanting Krishna's name. Mm. So he is Krishna, but he was chanting Krishna's name because he came as a devotee of Krishna. Mm. Like that, to teach the rest of us how to love Krishna, what to do to love Krishna. Now, Krishna has already said in the Bhagavad Gita that you abandon all varieties of religion and you surrender to him. He said that. But some people try to, and some people find it difficult to surrender to Krishna. So this most munificent, most merciful form of the Lord, Lord Caitanya, he didn't come say surrender to Krishna. He just said chant the holy name of Krishna. But he's also set up the whole connection to Krishna in such a way that when we chant and chant attentively and chant from our hearts, we will in fact develop love slowly, gradually for the Lord. Mm-hmm. And then everything about the Lord will be very important to us. We prioritize serving devotees, we prioritize serving Guru, and serving the deity. This is all to our advantage because this is how we become happy anyway, by serving the Lord. So the external reason for Lord Chaitanya's coming was what benefits us, to chant the holy name of the Lord and develop love for the Lord. The internal reason had to do with the mood and the love that Srimati Radharani had for Krishna, and Krishna wanting to experience that. So he came as Lord Chaitanya to experience that love, the bhav from Srimati Radharani. Anyway, so when the Lord was little, we talked about how he caused those around to cry, to chant the holy name when he cried. There was and this happens still, Annaprasan ceremony, grain ceremony, where the child tastes grains the first time. I remember my own children, we won't go into details, but there are quite a few devotees that were born at Gita Nagri. They're all older now, 20s and 30s, some of them even. And their grain ceremony. So Lord Chaitanya was also, as a baby, parents had a grain ceremony for him. And in the grain ceremony, it's customary to offer coins and money. Coins, money, and then Srimad Bhagavatam. Sorry, coins on one side, money, and Srimad Bhagavatam, the book, to see the child's future tendencies, whether he'll be more as a Vaishya, a person who's into business, or that he would actually be more erudite and more attached to Krishna consciousness. And may not surprise anybody when you hear that Nimai chose the Bhagavatam and definitely ignored the money. Now, in part of the childhood pastimes, one day at Nimai's house, a snake showed up. And of course, to this day, when people see a snake, they get quite scared. And Nimai was a baby then. And so, of course, he was in the yard. The snake came close to Nimai. Nimai touched the snake. Nimai laid on the snake. And people were just, as they say in America, fit to be tied. They were very, very scared. And they wanted, as soon as possible, to have that situation dealt with. They managed to get Nimai away from the snake. But Nimai wanted to go be with the snake. The snake actually is an antithesis. The incarnation, one form of Balaram, who really had come to visit. But of course, those at home did not know that at the high level, this wasn't an ordinary snake. The Lord is served by an antithesis, Lord Vishnu lying on the Gabadak ocean, and the bed is a snake bed, a very soft bed, and that's an antithesis that does that. And so Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. So again, the snake came But later he went away. So the little things like this were happening. People didn't really know who Nehemiah was. At another time, a thief noticed that there were quite a few jewels, quite a few expensive jewelry on Nehemiah's body, when the Sachi put it there to decorate Nehemiah. And so he stole Nehemiah literally. So Nehemiah was prancing around the yard and took him. Actually, there were two of them, thieves, and their intent was to hide Nehemiah at their house and take the jewelry from Nehemiah. So they got Nehemiah and they tried to communicate with him, as baby talk and everything. At that time, of course, he could communicate well. At that time, he was a little older, and um, and so the thieves were kind of reassuring Nehemiah everything is going to be okay. We're taking you this, and Nehemiah was going for the joyride. And so they went a distance, and without the thieves noticing what was happening, Nehemiah, the Lord, he's Supreme Personality of God, which means he's also the Lord in our heart, Paramatma. So he induced those two thieves, as they thought they were going to their residence, to actually turn and begin to head back towards Nehemiah's house. The thieves all that time were thinking they were just going to their residence where it could be privately. Nehemiah would be out of view, and then they could take the jewelry. They were interested. They weren't interested in harming Nehemiah, but just wanted the jewelry. But Nehemiah fooled them. And as they thought they were approaching their house, they were actually approaching the house of Daganat Misha in Sachidevi. In the meantime, in the house, nobody could find Nehemiah. So they were quite concerned. Where is Nehemiah? Where is Nehemiah? Where is Nehemiah? So much concern was at the house. And then after a while, these two men come and they bring Nehemiah. And they thought they had gotten to their home. But then when they saw pieces of Sachi David and saw Daganabisha, then it hit them. This is not our home. This is not, but then they had set the baby down at that time. So then Daganamisha was so happy to see Nehemiah return. And so he saw the two men. He did not realize they were thieves. And he was going to thank them for bringing Nehemiah back. But the thieves realized that they had actually come to the house of the baby instead of their residence. So they wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. So what happened was that Tagramisha is trying to have them be seated and even give them some gifts or something for bringing Nehemiah back. And they want to get out of there as soon as possible. So they start running. And Tagramisha says, stop, 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 stop. But they ran away anyway because they didn't want to be, in their minds, discovered. In the meantime, Nehemiah knew really what was going on. Another time, a pilgrim, Brahmana, visited the house of Jagannath Mishra in Sachidevi. He was treated so well, but in the conversation, he was asked to cook for the evening, and he did that. But when the bhoga was offered to the Lord, to the deity, Nehemiah crawled up to where the bhoga was and began eating it. And so the Brahmana was very, very, very shocked and very disappointed that the baby had interrupted his serving the deity. Of course, the Brahman did not know who the baby was, that it was the Lord himself. So the Brahmana raised an alarm. The people in the house came and they noticed that the whole sequence of offering had been disrupted by Nimai. Daganamisha was very, very upset. And he took the baby away. And then the Brahman was pleaded with, please cook again, please cook again, please. Brahman said, well, maybe it's not meant to happen. I accept things as they come and maybe it's not my day to serve the Lord that way, therefore let's forget about it. But everybody in the house of Jagannath Mishra would not agree to it. They pleaded. So, all right, the ingredients for making another preparation were brought to the kitchen. The Brahman cooked again. Nimai was put away. Make sure this time he couldn't come around. Hmm. The Brahman offered the bhoga. And as he was in the middle of doing that, somehow Nimai appeared again and started to take the offering and eat it. So the Brahman again started shouting, "Alas, alas, alas! Mm, my offering has been disrupted again." Jagannath Mishra came and noticed that again his son Nimai had done this. He was really, really quite upset. This time they put him in a room. They bolted the door. Mm. They again begged the Brahmana, please cook one more time. One more time. And it took a while before the Brahmana agreed to cook again because he was just going to give up. And so this time he prepared the bhoga. And when he started offering, the Lord Nimai is in the Lord Nahad also, he put everybody in a deep sleep and got out of where he was at and came to the offering and started eating again. The Brahman screamed, "Alas, alas, alas." But this time everybody was in a deep sleep, and so nobody heard him. And then Nimai told him, "You're offering to the Lord. You're offering to me. You're calling me, and I'm coming, and I'm having, but you have an issue with it." And so the Brahman was surprised to hear that. But then the Lord revealed himself as the Supreme Lord to the Brahman and told the Brahman, "This is not the first time. Not quite a few lifetimes you have visited different places and you've been my associate. Hmm? This time nobody knows that I'm the Lord. And I have revealed myself to you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there's one condition. So there's nothing wrong with the bhoga. You offered it to the Lord and I accepted it. But you should never let anyone know that this has happened and you know who my identity really is." The Brahman was very happy that he actually is associated with the Lord. And right after that, a number of people in the house woke up, but the Brahman was so happy and singing and all that he caused a disturbance, but a happy one. The residents and others who were in the house at the time, they asked the Brahman, and the Brahman remembered what Caitanya has says, don't say anything. As a matter of fact, what Caitanya warned that if he ever revealed who he was as a young person in the house, that Brahman would actually lose his life. So it was a stiff warning. Don't tell anybody that it's me. The Lord wanted to come as a devotee to teach people how to really, really be involved in bhakti at all levels. So he came as a baby, then later on as a householder, later on as a sannyasi, later on as a guru. He did all of that, but you will hear in the different parts of Lord Chaitanya's life and teachings later. So practically every position that we now, or some of us go through in ISKCON, Lord Chaitanya took that role. So Lord Chaitanya taught a lot. Anyway, in this Brahman situation, he was stopped. And we'll fast forward a little bit to Nimai's life when he was a teenager. He was very smart. He could hear something one time and he could remember everything about it. It doesn't matter how long that information is. And he also kind of bothered a good many of the Vaishnavas in Navadvip. He was into grammar. Now, nobody knew he was the Lord. Nobody knew that he was the Lord himself. Advaita Acharya had prayed for the Lord to come, and the Lord had come, but had not revealed himself as that he was the Lord. So nobody knew. And so he really had, there were times that he was quite naughty, for lack of a better way to put it. In the sacred rivers, when some of the Brahmins were taking their bath, he would get in there and he would splash water at them. Mm. They reported him to Jagannath Mishra, and sometimes he would trick them, mm, make Jagannath Mishra think, oh, I'm just returning from school. There are just little games like that. Krishna also, when he was long in Goku, he also played some games. Now, here's why we warned you ahead of time. Don't look at these games as something that is at our level. Mm. Everything Krishna does is transcendental. So even if we don't understand it, we should keep reminding ourselves that these are all transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In time, when we grow in Krishna consciousness, the deeper meaning will become obvious to us, but not now. So sometimes we tell it, you hear it for what it is, but know it that it is in fact at a transcendental level. The Lord does not do things at the material level. Mm. So Nimai had a group of Navadvip residents, young, who liked to take. He was very smart. They liked to take instructions from him. So he was a teacher, grammar teacher. Mm. In former school, they would meet on the banks of the Ganga, mm, and he would teach there. Now, at that time, there happened to be a particular personality, an older personality, Digvijay. He's called Keshava Kashmiri. He's from Kashmir. Srila Prabhupada says Kashmir is very old. He called it an old country. Mm. And this particular personality was going around in different places and having debates with the scholars in the different places, and he was defeating them, defeating all of them. Nobody had been able to challenge him and win. So there were quite a few scholars also in Navadvip. So then Digvijay, Keshava Kashmiri, decided to come to Navadvip to debate the scholars there. And the scholars heard about it. He had quite a few, he had thousands of followers, this Keshava Kashmiri, and they came with him. And so, he's a big time person, very intelligent. He actually had a boon from Goddess Saraswati, who is a goddess of learning. Therefore, nobody could defeat him. So he came to Navadvip. And Navadvip scholars thought about it this way. All right, so he's come to challenge us for debate. First, we will have him debate Nimai. Nimai was 16 years old. And if he wins, we'll say, oh, well, you just debated a teenager, so not a big deal if you win. Mm. And at that time, they'll take him on. They themselves, the scholars, will take him on. And they figure if he debated, they knew Nima was very smart. And so they said, if he debates Nimai and Nimai beats him, then they're going to tell him that, well, even a teenager in Navadvip was able to beat you, so you don't even try us, because you have a teenage boy, you couldn't even beat him. He flawed you. So that was a plan. That was what the scholars in Navadvip were thinking. So they said that he should first debate Nimai. Nimai was in the Ganga, and he was teaching his grammar. And this whole contingent of people with Keshava Kashmir, they came to the Ganga. Lord Caitanya saw them. He had heard, this Keshava Kashmir had heard about Nimai. And of course, he knew that the scholars had told him that he was going to debate Nimai. So he came to where Nimai was, and Nimai was very respectful towards him. And after they had a few exchange, nice exchange, that Nimai asked him, you are, very, very, we know you're a renowned scholar. We are at the banks of the Ganga. Can you compose a poem praising Mother Ganga? And Keshava Kashmir immediately agreed. And he ran 100. shlokas, 100, right out of the mouth, in praise of Ganga. And Nimai was listening. And when he finished, Nimai told them, well, thank you. Mainly speaking, expressed appreciation for the poetry. And then he said, but there are a few places that are inconsistent, as far as writing, coming up or reciting a poem, things that are you're supposed to do that was not done properly. Therefore, go back on it and make the changes, correct things, do the correction as needed. And Keshava Kashmiri says, I don't make any mistakes in my poems. I don't. Then Nimai insisted. But there are mistakes in this one. So please make the correction. Digvijay, Keshava Kashmiri still insisted, no, 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 no. Everything is fine. I haven't made any mistake. Then Nimai began, as we said earlier, he only needs to hear something once and he remember everything. This is Lord Nimai, Lord Caitanya, or Vishwambara. Now he began to quote the actual number of slokas, sloka number this, sloka number that. You said so and so and so and so, and then he began to explain. Some of it, there's a particular style of writing or saying poetry that he started with, but he did not end it properly. And so the Lord pointed it out. And there were some other places too that were kind of redundant. Had to do with Lord Shiva's wife. I know actually examples, but we won't describe them in too great a detail. He was telling Keshava Kashmir, it can't be right. Sometimes you're overstating, and even when it comes to Lord Shiva's wife, the way you praised it in your prayer, it almost looked like Lord Shiva's wife was already married to another man, like a second man was in the picture. This is all explained in Caitanya Charitamrita, by the way. And so those were the mistakes now the Lord Chaitanya or Nimai began to point out to Keshava Kashmir. And Keshava Kashmir was shocked. So it got to a point where Keshava Kashmir was kind of speechless. He didn't know what to say. And then the students of Lord Chaitanya, Nimai, started laughing at him. But Nimai immediately stopped them. He says, you do not do that. He was very, very, very particular about etiquette. And this is an older person. So what Nimai told him, Keshava Kashmir, all right, so this time you didn't understand. There were inconsistencies in the poem. But you go home, tomorrow come back, we will discuss Shastra this time. And please go and read your books and prepare for this. So in the evening, when Keshava Kashmir, shocked as he was, he went to bed, he had a dream. And in that dream, the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati, appeared to him and told him, Keshava Kashmir, in his dream, that boy that you saw, that beautiful boy that you saw, 16 years old, at the bank of the Ganga, is my worshipable Lord himself. You couldn't have won to save your life. You cannot, you're not. I'm goddess of learning, but he is my worshipable Lord. Therefore, don't get yourself ready to prepare another debate against him because you're not going to get anywhere, in many words. But you need to humble yourself at his feet. And so when he got that dream, the next day he went to the bank to Ganga, and this time he immediately offered his prostrated obeisances to Lord Chaitanya and told him that the goddess of fortune, the whole thing, the goddess of learning, the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati had told me your identity. And so he submitted himself and also stopped this whole idea of going around and trying to defeat, other people. Now, Lord Chaitanya In this first 24 years, he was in Navadvip as the householder. First, he married Lakshmi Priya, but then she died when the Lord traveled to East Bengal. So Navadvip is in West Bengal. He traveled to East Bengal. And when he returned, the Lord's wife had already left the body. As Chaitanya Charitamrita says, out of disappointment, actually. She was really wanting to be with her husband. The Lord had an aim for being there also. And so when he had traveled and been with some of his associates. We really haven't spent time mentioning the associates except Advaita Charya. But there were a few others that you may know of that I'll tell you what they may do, who they were in Guru Lila. So when he returned, Mother Sachi was in a very, very deep mood of sorrow because the wife had left. Lord Chaitanya's wife had left. But Lord Chaitanya did not allow that to bother him too much. So not long after that, he met Vishnupriya, and they knew whose identities they were. They both knew. Vishnupriya is also goddess fortune, and Lord Chaitanya was the Lord himself. So arrangements were made to get married. So Lord Chaitanya had a second wedding, second marriage. The wedding was made very elaborate because one rich man named Budimanta Khan volunteered to pay for the entire wedding expenses. So many gifts were brought for those who attended. People go to weddings and they bring gifts for the couple. But in this arrangement, there were gifts made for those who were attending the wedding. And some of the gifts were very, 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 very exquisite, very, very expensive. And there were some brahmanas that came and they would form a line, people receiving gifts. And they liked their gift so much that they would put their gift down and then they would come join the line again to get a second gift, even though they were always supposed to be there at one time. So the Lord saw that was going on. The Lord, he was dressed so nicely and him and Vishnupriya looked so wonderful together. But then the Lord made an announcement that everybody that's come should get a gift. To get 3 gifts. So you're welcome to go back on the line because he had seen what was going on. Just so the Brahmanas will not be embarrassed. Anybody that sees them do this, oh, Brahman is acting like this. So then Lord Chaitanya, again, out of his mercy, said, everyone can, if they want to, join the line 3 times to get a gift. And so that way the matter was kind of settled. So at 24 years of age, the Lord took sannyas. Vishnupriya at that time was only 16, so it was very difficult for him and for her. Now, when he took sannyas, then he decided to make his base. We'll stop in a couple of minutes. His base at Jagannath Puri. This was at the request of his mother. And he preached Srimad Bhagavatam. He preached Bhagavad Gita. His aim was to spread the holy name, through which to develop the devotees, and anyone interested could develop Krishna Prema, awaken Krishna Prema. So he was going after his sannyas initiation to Keshava Bharati. He was in the streets with his associates. Associates like Lalita, who was Swarup Damodar. Lalita of the Gopi Lalita came as Swarup Damodar. Ramananda Rai is Vishaka. Ramananda Rai was actually there twice. Well, not in Gaura Lila, but in Krishna Lila in Vrindavan. Ramananda Rai, who is Vishaka, when he was there, asked Vishaka. She was, of course, a Gopi with the Lord, but he was also the same Jamuna River. The Jamuna River was also Vishaka. so they can, the devotees of the Lord can in fact expand, depending on the service that they want to give. But this time it was Ramananda Rai. So Lalita was that, and then there were others. Names are escaping me. In Gora Lila, the Lord, no, Srimati Radharani's father. Srimati Radharani's father. I'm missing names now, so if anybody can,
Vrishabhanu.
yeah, yeah, Vishabhanu, yeah. Mhm. So he also came in the in Gora Lila. Mhm. So there were so many that came in different places, but I think I'm looking at the time now. I'm going to leave the 5 minutes for you guys to um, ask questions. So the last thing I'll say is Harinam was very, very, very tumultuous in Navadvip. The Lord will have 7 groups dancing, and you have a lead dancer, and then you'll have a lead chanter, and those who will follow. And there are 2 mudangas in each group, so in 7 groups, like 14 mudangas and kartals and so on. And he was singing and chanting the holy name of the Lord. Very, very tumultuous and very wonderful. Hmm? So, anyway, the Chand Kazi was contacted by some Muslims who were very, very um, very, very envious of the Lord, how much attention he was getting. And he told the Chankazi that there's this disturbance by this sannyasi. And the Chankazi actually disrupted, he had his soldiers disrupt the whole Harinam and even break the Madanga. Mm. Lord Titania was not there at that time, but they reported the incident. The associates of the Lord reported the incident to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya organized even a bigger harinam, 100,000 people. And they started and they marched to the Qazi's house, and they were very, 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 loud in their chanting. Mm. The Qazi was afraid. He went to the second floor of his palace, and the people got in the first floor, and if you read Chaitanya Bhagavata, they said they ransacked the first floor. But Chankazi was very scared. Finally, Lord invited the Chankazi to come out and had a civil conversation with the Lord. Mm. The Lord explained that the Chankazi actually was his maternal uncle, so he should receive the Lord well at his house. They have come, of course, to his house. But in that way, the matter was resolved. As you can see, the Lord was not timid at all, and we shouldn't either. Even in the case of the Krishna Lila, Arjun was also quite a Kshatriya. So the lesson is stand up for what is right, but do it tactfully and respectfully, just like Lord Chaitanya did. Mm. So Lord Chaitanya says so many other aspects of his life and teachings that would come up. We'll stop here. I was mentioning Vishabhanu, but in Gora Lila, he's actually Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Mm. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, same person. So, and there are many others. Sukamba Brahmacharya was some of the wives of one of the wives of the Brahmins who refused to give Krishna and Balaram prasad when they asked for it. That's where he comes from. So many are there. Anyway, but we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you again for allowing me to do this service. Now this is time for the Buddhists to talk about their takeaways, and when I ask questions or share some realizations, you can do that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Would like to ask devotees if you have any questions, any comments or any reflections on this beautiful pastimes of the Lord. Please do unmute yourself, or you can put it in the chat and we'll be happy to read it. The reason, like we mentioned, that we want to set our mindsets, as soon as January comes around up until March, it's all Goro Lila pastimes.
Mm.
If you see, today is the appearance of Advaitacharya, who was part of the Goro Lila.
Mm.
And he's one of the five prominent figures, personal associates of Lord Chaitanya in
Yeah.
Panchatattva.
He's also
And then,
Mahavishnu. He's also
yes, he is
Mahavishnu.
part of Mahavishnu and Lord Shiva and Sadashiva, both, you know.
Sadashiva, yeah. Mm.
So that's one. And then this Friday, we have the appearance of Lord Nityananda, who is also part of the Gaura Leela.
Mm.
And we have Lord Nityananda right on our altar on the left side. And then we have another festival coming up, which is the third anniversary of Nitai Gaura Chandra, which is another Gaura Leela of the Brahmotsav that we are celebrating their third anniversary of appearance in the heart of Harrisburg. And then we have Gaur Purnima, which comes up on March 30th, another Gaur Leela. So from the month of January up until Gaur Purnima, it's all about Gaur Leela. And we want to share this because, you know, so that we can prepare our hearts and our minds and our meditation on Lord Chaitanya and his personal associates who actually, you know, have brought what we have today through
Mm.
Srila Prabhupada. So it's very important that we are reminded of Lord Chaitanya's life and of Lord Chaitanya's teachings, Lord Chaitanya's example. You know, he left behind eight instructions, only eight instructions. He didn't write a book, you know, which is the Sri Shastaka. And his pastimes are kind of similar to Lord Krishna. There are a lot of similarities actually between Lord Chaitanya's and Lord Krishna. So we request devotees, you know, as we hear these pastimes, you know, meditate on it as a focus and meditation to help our minds and our hearts, you know, to go deeper into Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda as we enter into the next three, four festivals that's coming up starting this Friday, which is the appearance of Lord Nityananda. As we heard from Parikshit, that Lord Nityananda appeared, I think, 12 years before Lord Chaitanya,
Hmm.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
I didn't say it,
that's
but yeah, it is fine.
yeah. Lord Nityananda appeared 12 years before Lord Chaitanya. So it's a beautiful, beautiful pastimes, beautiful months. And as we said, you know, we have broken up this into five parts. Today is the first part, and we will continue to hear the next four parts up until Gaur Purnima, again, to meditate on Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So any comments, any reflections, please do raise your hand. I can definitely start one. I think there's one fine similarity as you were speaking about Lord Goranga in Nimai at that time.
Mm.
You know how he would he was very naughty when he was young, you know, and his activities were pretty much similar to Lord Krishna. You know, pastimes. You know how he had friends and he was the, you know, just as Lord Krishna was the darling of Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya was also the darling of Navadvip.
Hmm.
Very, very much so. So there's so many similarities in that pastime, you know. So that's one of my takeaways that I wanted to share, that Lord Chaitanya is none different than Lord Nityananda, I mean, than Lord Krishna.
Mm.
So that's that beautiful childhood pastime similarity between Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. So that was one of my takeaways. Anyone else would like to share a takeaway? Have some thoughts, have some reflections, some realizations? Please do raise your hand. We have a couple of more minutes. And I'm going to go down the list to make sure that I'm not missing anyone. Okay. If there isn't, we hope that everybody is safe and sound. We know that it's about a foot of snow out there, and it's a lot going on. And we hope, and we've missed two Sunday programs, you know, today and last Sunday. So we hope and pray that we don't have to see snow again for the next few weeks and that we can come together in person and take and have each other's
Mm.
association next Sunday. And I'm sure all the kids are missing Sunday school. I can definitely say for sure. I don't know about my class and Varsha's class, but I'm sure the kids are missing Swana Garanga's class. So,
Hare Krishna.
yes,
There was a request. Okay.
I'm sure they are Swana Garanga.
Got it.
I'm
Sorry,
sure.
it's not late for a question.
No, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept
Mm.
humble and respectful obeisances. Jai Shri
Yeah,
Prabhupada.
go Shri Prabhupada.
It was wonderful Katha, Prabhuji. Very, very nice. And it's
Krishna's
always
mercy, Krishna's
great
mercy.
to listen Chaitanamrita or Chaitanya Leela always. So usually during preaching, this question
Mm-hmm.
comes, especially with the initiated devotees. They usually ask this question when we hear Chaitanya Charitamrita or Gaur Leela. That in Bhagavad Gita it said, right? So once you get like Yad Gatvana Nivartante Mad Dhamam Paramam Mama, once somebody gets into the Krishna's abode, it doesn't come back. And then we see in Gaur Leela so many devotees are coming back to this earth again, taking incarnations again, coming back. That's one question. And then sub question to this is even in Gaur Leela, we see this one personality does have many personalities, like Shivas Pandit is, or Sri Advaita Acharya is, we are talking about Mahavishnu, Sadasiv. How is it possible having multiple personalities and in one body? So this is like the common questions usually initiate devotees they ask. They get concerned
Very
on.
powerful
So,
questions.
for your first question is that it's in Bhagavad Gita says that when someone leaves, they go to the spiritual world, they don't return. I want to make sure I heard you properly because you're in this internet is a little unstable, so you were breaking up.
Yeah, that was my bad.
Right. So you
And
go, you
then he
don't come
said,
back.
but then
But
no,
why
so
is it that
in
these
Gora
the
Leela, they keep
devotees
coming back.
they keep coming back? Okay.
Yeah.
So the distinction has to be made here. It's very important. And in fact, there are some people that's in other, sampradayas that this point they've taken it to another level that's quite unfortunate. So it's good that you even asked this question. There is a difference between those who are being spoken about as conditioned souls and those who are spoken about as eternal Nityasiddhas, residents of the spiritual world. Now, the statement in Bhagavad Gita that says that there is another, and God says, there is another abode of mind that's not illumined by electricity or fire or the sun and so on. And those who go there, they don't return. The implication is that the conditioned souls who are here like us, when we go back to the spiritual world, we will not come back. That's referred to us. But the eternal associates of the Lord, wherever he goes, they want to go. They want to be in the spiritual world. He comes times, they will be here. Mm? So that doesn't apply to the eternal residents, eternal associates, eternal residents of the spiritual world. It applies to us conditioned souls that if we go, we don't come back, and we go back to spiritual world, we don't return. And Chanamaya Swami gave a lecture. In fact, I was talking about it to Philadelphia devotees this morning, um, showing why that statement is there that they don't the conditioned souls who make it back to the spiritual world don't return to the material world. The soul, that's us. The soul has qualities of Satchitananda, eternal, full of knowledge. The chit part is what we're going to focus on. Full of knowledge, and knowledge means all knowledge. And that's it. It's not knowledge of what happens in the spiritual world only. Knowledge about the material world and what has happened here and things in the spiritual world, everything will be remembered by the mind of the soul. Therefore, knowing the kind of situations that happen in the material world for us, sometimes we've been in different bodies that are non-human, sometimes in all kinds of situations that we've been in, every one of them painted with so much anxiety, for lack of a better way to put it. Mm? When we, Chaitanya Swami explained that when we go back to the spiritual world, we can remember all of those lifetimes in the material world and what happened to us. Now, even with this lifetime, how much anxiety quite a few of us have been through. If you go back to the spiritual world, just picture yourself, no anxiety. Everything is supplied. Mm? Your service is on a volunteer basis. You don't have anything to worry about. You do not die. Your body never gets old. You don't get disease. But you can remember as a condition to that times in one body after another, when the millions of bodies, you can remember all of them and how you died. And you know that death is painful. Who in their right mind is going to want to return to this material world after knowing that? So the Lord said in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 that those who live here and go to the spiritual world, they don't return. The Lord knows they're not going to return. And here's the reason. Because in the spiritual world, nobody in the right mind is going to want to come after going through what they went through, they will go through in hundreds of lifetimes in the material world. So that's what it is. But the pure devotees of the Lord, they love the Lord so much so that wherever they want to, whatever he wants to do, they want to be with him and associate with him. Even if it means they have to take demonic bodies like, Jaya and Vijay did, just, to, just to serve the Lord in the way he wants to enjoy pastimes, even in the material world. So they'll come. So yeah, the short form of it is this going back to the spiritual world and not returning does not apply to pure devotees of the Lord. It doesn't. It applies to those of us who are here when we go back to the spiritual world. We don't return. And your second question again, if you could repeat it.
Second question was about even we hear when we read about Gaur Ganapady's Deepika or from the scriptures also, or like today's Katha also, right? Like Advaita Acharya had multiple personalities in one same personality.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay.
Mahavishnu and Sadashiv. How is it possible?
Yeah.
Like multiple personality coming in one?
Yeah. This is not from, I don't think you would get much information about that from Srimad Bhagavatam as you would Brihad Bhagavatamrita. The Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and I was fortunate to read with some Philadelphia devotees, all three books. We were having a discussion of them. There is quite a bit of, for lack of a better way to describe it, versatility about the soul. If so we may think, all right, so if we leave this material body and the physical body is gone, subtle body is gone, we go back to the spiritual world, and that's that. That is our soul. We can, associate with the Lord and the Lord's devotees. But actually, according to Brihad Bhagavatamrita, what Gopakumara was describing, these souls, we can actually split up in different personalities and be in different Vaikuntha planets, not only Golok Vrindavan, even that's there. So there's that much versatility with the soul. The soul can split into different personalities also. Now, obviously, the master, the champion of all of that is the Lord himself. But there are souls who can do that. And of course, when we were talking, I think when I kind of compared a little bit of the Christian Leela with Guru Leela, I mentioned that Vishaka was the Jamuna River. So in Vrindavan, the Jamuna River is there. That's Vishaka, but she's also there as a gopi. So in two different situations going on at the same time with her. So we're saying that to say it is not surprising. This is a capability of the soul. It is possible for multiple personalities, like the way you described, and also even different personalities in different places. Even in the spiritual world, that happens. So this is what was explained in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So
Hare Krishna.
not meaning that somebody can even decide when they are successful, get the mercy and go back to the spiritual world. And they have been so excited about Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, they might decide, I want to follow Lord Chaitanya and come back into another material world that he's in. And be in his pastimes as an expansion while the soul, another part of it, is still in the spiritual world, living for us. So it's like this. That's also possible. And I never knew that till we read Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And it was explained. The residents of Vaikuntha were explaining to Gopakumara. Gopakumara is the main personality and the star of the show, so-called. Yeah, explained. That's when we found out that there's that much ability there too for
Yep.
us to be in different personalities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Thank you for
That
that.
was a really nice
Hare
question,
Hare
Swanagrang, a very good, powerful question because I was just reading from, like I just posted in the chat,
Mm.
Um, I was reading somewhere from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, you know, uh,
Mhm.
and he was saying that um, when devotees return, like I said in Gaura Leela, it's more of the divine, it's just they want to be part of the pastime.
Voluntary, yeah. They
Voluntary.
come on their
They
own.
don't they
Yeah,
don't return because of karmic bondage.
absolutely not. They're not
Yeah,
So
under
that's
that.
the
Nitya
difference.
Siddha,
Yeah.
right? Siddha Jivas.
Yeah. Yeah. We are here because of karmic bondage, because we were in the cycle of birth and that.
We are
So
Buddha
when
Jivas,
we
so we have to come back.
We
yes.
are conditioned souls, yeah. They are
Yeah,
not.
so when we go back, we don't come back because we are done with the cycle of birth and death.
And
But when the pure devotees come back, like we've even heard, proper disciples or sannyasis say, if I have to come back for Prabhupada to serve, I'll do, because they are in the pure devotee and they're coming for, to out of voluntary love and
mhm,
compassion. It's not that they're bounded by karma.
yeah,
That's what I read
Yeah,
yeah.
even
some
I
time
heard
ago.
one time, I don't remember whose katha was that, but he was making this point. Jai Vijay was liberated in Krishna Lila, but they
Mhm.
acted so well. In Gaur Lila, they got another part.
Because
Yes.
they wanted to.
Yeah,
Yes.
they acted so well, so Krishna gave them that part.
Yeah, they
Nobody can
requested
do
to
it
come,
better
yeah.
than you.
They
Jagai
asked to
Mada.
come.
Jagai Mada, yeah.
Yes. Because thing is they acted so well.
So
I'm like,
we
how you
have to
say
be
this
best
one?
at
I
our
go,
service, right? So you never know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Originally, there was supposed to be three lifetimes as demons,
Mhm.
each one of them. So the gatekeepers, for those who may not know about this, because we're just assuming the knowledge of it, but um, the Lord wanted to sport. He wanted to fight. And I mean a real good fight. And if he wants that, he can't get that in the spiritual world because everybody's serving him. So he has to come to the material world. That's where the demons are. So, so when these two gatekeepers of Vaikunta, Jai and Vijay, heard about it, they decided that they would serve the Lord in that way. So there were sons of Lord Brahma called the four Kumaras. They visited the spiritual world, but they had already decided that they did not want to marry when they were born by Lord Brahma, so they remained by their own potency like 5-year-old kids. No clothes, nothing, walking, but they were very highly advanced. They were impersonalists too now, but they still knew Shastra quite well. They went to the spiritual world and they went to six gates, and the seventh gate had these two gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, who saw them and said, well, who are these little kids want? What do they want here? So they basically they got stopped. But then the Jai and Vijay, in their behavior that way, not wanting to let them go through the last gate to get to the Lord's abode, Narayan's abode, then they got cursed. They said, this is the behavior that is not to be, practiced in the spiritual world. This is like material behavior. So we curse you two gatekeepers, go to the material world. But actually, it's an unfoldment for um, the Lord Narayan wanting the sport. So the Lord came to the scene and came there at the gate and took responsibility for what the gatekeepers had done, because after all, his associates apologized to the four Kumaras. And he said, okay, so you've compromised, you've cursed them, and they have a choice. They can be in the material world 7 lifetimes as devotees or 3 lifetimes as demons. And Jai Vijay chose 3 lifetimes as demons, which is consistent with the fact that the Lord really wanted to sport and fight with demons anyway. So they came. One time in Satya Yuga as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and then in Treta Yuga as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. That's Ramayana. And then in Dwapara Yuga as Shishupal and Dantavakra. Again, they were all going against Krishna and Balaram at that time. And that was it. So 3 lifetimes. But then when he went back and heard that Lord Chaitanya was also coming in Kali Yuga, they asked to come back and they were permitted, as Sanaguranga was saying. and he came back as two dacoits, troublesome like anything in that, but that's Jagai and Madai. And later on, they got liberated by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So that's the story with them. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Very nice questions, Farnaguranga. I'm
Yeah, thank you
still
for your
thinking.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about the question because it's really, really, really deep, and I've never heard a question like that. So that was really meant to come out. So thank you for asking that question.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Any other questions from devotees? I know we
Any
passed the hour, but just don't want to, miss
any
anyone.
other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai
Jai.
Shri
Yeah,
Prabhupada.
I have one question, like how can you differentiate Sadashiv and like Lord Shiva in the
I'm
material
not
world?
here.
How can you differentiate Sadashiv and Lord Shiva? What is the difference?
What is the difference? Yeah.
Sadashiv and
Lord Shiva, like mostly,
Lord Shiva
yeah,
and Sadashiva? Is
yeah,
that a
yes,
question?
Prabhuji. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
So what I've heard in the Shastra, I think it was Radha Swami, um, Sadashiva, there may be more to Sadashiva, but what I've heard is what I'm going to tell you.
Mhm,
He is the personality of the glance of the Lord on the material energy. That's Sadashiva.
mhm,
The personality of a glance of it. Of course, when the Lord glances over the material energy, then the material energy is activated. Then all of the living entities begin whatever it is that they got to do based on their karma. Mm. So Sadashiva represents the glance of the Lord on the material energy. I think there are other definitions that, in terms of other functions of Sadashiva, but this one is one I remember from a lecture that was given by Radhanath Swami. Hare
What
Krishna.
I have read, I think it was a couple of
I
years
know
ago.
there's more, but
Yeah,
this is
there's more. So what I have is read is that I'm trying to think where I read it. Lord Shiva resides in the Kailash Mountains,
yes.
whereas Sadashiva is in Goloka. He's part of the spiritual world. He's not out of the spiritual world. That's the difference. Sadashiva and Lord Shiva
mhm,
is actually because if you see Lord Shiva resides in the Kailash Manas, that's between Vaikuntha and the material world. Sadashiva resides in the part
Guru,
of the Goloka, part of the spiritual world.
Vaikuntha. Okay.
Yes, that's the difference. That's
Lord
the
Lord Shiva's abode is in the outskirts of,
yes.
of the
Lord
spiritual world.
Shiva is between Vaikuntha and the material world. Sadashiva
Mhm,
is in Vaikuntha.
mhm,
Okay, in terms of residence, all right.
Yes,
So that's the
yes.
other aspect of Sadashiva.
Yeah, in fact, it said that Lord, Sadashiva is in the Vaikuntha world, so he's in that is part of the Vaikuntha planets. So he's what they call the spiritual part of Goloka, something like that, but it's in Vaikuntha. It's not out of Vaikuntha. Whereas Lord Shiva, that resides in Kailash, he's just out of Vaikuntha.
But in outskirts, it's not really in the
Outskirts,
material world.
sorry,
Outskirts, yeah.
outskirts. Yes. Outskirts.
He's
That's the best way
it's
to put
it's
it.
the it's the material world, then the Viraja River, then the outskirts of Vaikuntha, which is where Lord Shiva is, and then the Vaikuntha
Mm-hmm.
planets themselves. And then farthest away is Goloka Vrindavan, where Shiva Prabhupada is trying to get us to
Mm-hmm.
go there. So that's the okay. So I
Yeah.
say that the material world, then past the material world, the material covering the sky, which means the other side of the sky that we see now, miles away, there's a river that separates material world from the spiritual world. It's called the Viraja River. There's a whole pastime behind that also. Won't get into that. Then the outskirts. Mm. And we can relate to outskirts. Sometimes you come into a particular city and you get to a place where the outskirts of the city you see a few miles and you get into the city itself. So like that. But of course that's all spiritual though. After the Viraja River, everything is spiritual. So Lord Shiva's abode is also spiritual. Mm. It is spiritual in essence, but it is in the outskirts of the Vaikuntha planets. And that's for him. and his associates. And then him meaning Lord Shiva. And then the Vaikuntha planets, where Narayan, every Vaikuntha planet has one Lord, Narayan, per planet. There are millions of them. And the farthest away, the biggest planet is Golok Vrindavan. And again, that's where Lord Srila Prabhupada wants us to go, because the relationship with the Lord, there's far more versatile relationships than it is in the Vaikuntha planets. Although the Vaikuntha planets are wonderful places to be. Sometimes people put it down, but the majority of those who are in the spiritual world are in the Vaikuntha planets, and they're extremely happy there. Still, there's more of a versatility with the Lord. And what versatility? Well, we'll say that and then we'll stop. The Lord Narayan, who is the king of each Vaikuntha planet, Lakshmi is his consort, goddess of fortune. And nobody can be in that level of relating to Lord Narayan like that. Whereas in Golok Vrindavan, you certainly can be, a soul can be even a girlfriend of Krishna, the consort of Krishna. You can't have that. And certainly nobody can play the role of a parent for Lord Narayan, but you can play the role of a parent for Krishna. So there's more intimate type of relationship and varied relationship in Golok Vrindavan compared to the Vaikuntha planets. But from Brihad Bhavatamrita, what we read, devotees shouldn't put down Vaikuntha planets, even though there's not as much versatility there, because they are swimming in wealth. They are extremely, extremely well cared for and happy. Extremely. Hare Krishna. Anyway, we'll stop here.
I
Thank
hope
you.
that helped, Anuradha.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you. Very nice question too. People do get confused about, because we hear that name Shiva so so much that we think it's the same, but it's not the same.
Yeah,
But that was a very good
Sadashiva is
question.
there.
Yeah, very, very nice question.
Really,
Thank
like,
you.
well, you told really well. Yeah.
It's
Explained
completely by
very
the
well.
mercy of, I think I'm trying to think which guru I read that from. I don't even it might have been Radhanath Swami. I don't remember. So all glories go to him, not to me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions from devotees? Please do ask. If there isn't, we thank you all for joining us. And again, we look forward to seeing everyone next Sunday. Actually, Friday. Please do not forget Friday first. That's most important. This Friday, 5:30, we are celebrating the appearance of Lord Nityananda, and it starts 5:30 bhajans. We will post the program's schedule. Please come and take darshan of the Lord, sing his glories, hear his glories, and offer flowers to the Lord. So please do partake this Sunday. Sorry,
This
Krishna
Friday.
Chaitanya. This Friday for the appearance of Lord Nityananda. Until
What
then,
time?
we hope
What time? What time?
5:30 p.m.
Okay.
It starts at 5:30 p.m. with bhajans and kirtan and a drama. Right, Swana Goranga? I'm hoping.
Yeah, yes, mother. So far, yes.
Yes, yes.
We did not get time to practice because past two Sundays, right?
I
So we're not able to
know.
practice.
Hopefully
But kids
I'm
are
hoping
more
you can
excited
wing
than
it,
me.
Prabhu. I'm
He
hoping you
said,
can wing it, Prabhu, because we're looking forward to the drama.
oh, it will
They are,
happen. He just
they
said
are
that the
very
kids are
excited.
more excited than he is. He said,
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They are. Even last time also, they forced me to go on the stage and then tell they wanted to say something.
Oh,
So they are excited.
that's good.
Hare
So that
Krishna.
so there'll be a drama and there'll be, Pushpa Abhishek and of course a wonderful prasadam. So please do join us this Friday for the appearance of Lord
Okay.
Nityananda. Until
And
then,
then the Sunday program also
yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
will continue.
Yeah, Friday and
Right.
Sunday. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
No more bad weather, Krishna. Please, Krishna, please. Vanchika privyaschа kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila
Thank you,
Prabhupada
devotees.
ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna.
Hari
Yeah,
Hari
Jai.
Bol.
Hare
Have a
Krishna.
Hare
wonderful
Krishna.
day and stay safe and stay warm.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you.